Good morning. In this video we will be doing the shiplapping and also working out some of the lighting and all the wires for that in the roof. I've been looking forward to doing the shiplapping for a while. I just think it makes things look more like a home, less like a bus. So I hope you enjoy.
Let's try 4. See if you got muscles for 4.
We've just put up these 2 pieces of shiplapping, 1, 2. We also put some screws because we heard over time the rattling, sometimes the nails move. But for extra precaution we also put liquid nails where the wood is. So we've just started to cut the hole as well so that the max air fan piece can fit in. And we also need to cut it down a bit, it's quite long. So we cut it down so that it can be held up against the shiplapping. We started from basically the center. We had a bit of string line to see that that was straight. And we're going to work a bit this way and a bit that way. We're also going to be shoving in insulation as we go. So just shoving it into the pockets, as much insulation as we can. It's actually called pine lining. It's 4.8 meters. And I'm pretty sure we got quite a lot of these, like maybe 15 or 16 of them. Just put this third one in, but it's actually bowed. I don't know if you can see that. It locks in at both ends, but in the middle, it just, no matter how much force you put in, it just won't lock in. So note to anyone else that's doing this, just have a quick look if it's actually straight before putting it up. So we have to take this one down and we can't use it. So we're just passing the wires through before we put any more shiplapping up. Today we're going fishing for some wires.
Yeah, found it. How's that?
Yesterday we just started running some conduit and basically just kind of talking through our electrical plan. So we've kind of drawn out where our LED lights are going to go. There's going to be 2 over the bed, 4 in like the kitchen area, and then 1 right in front of the shower. So there's going to be 7 LED lights. We're also going to have some strip lights underneath the kitchen cabinets and some fairy lights at the back, like in the bookshelf area.
Well, we're just recapping on switch location and light location and anything else that's going to be in the ceiling or in the shiplapping, so we can run all the wires so we can continue with the shiplapping. So okay, the light at the front near the cupboard, just 1 switch right here as you enter on a sync 1-way switch. The 4 lights in the center of the bus over the cooktop and the sink going to be on a 2-way switch, so one switch as you enter and 1 switch over near the bed, so you don't have to get out of bed at night and switch them off. Okay, the 2 lights over the bed, we're just going to have a 1-way switch just beside the bed. Still debating on whether we should have all 4 of those strip lights coming on together. Yes, okay, yes. All right, well, we'll do it that way. And then at the rear of the bus, I've got to run a wire up for the fairy lights because that'll be on a separate switch. And I've got to run 2 wires, 1 to either side of the bus for the 2 Sirocco fans. And that, we're just trying to make sure that we've got all our bases covered, that we've covered everything that possibly has to be run above the shiplapping before we finish. The only thing we haven't discussed is I've got to bring the solar wires up. Solar wires. Anyway, hopefully with my messy diagram we've covered everything.
My job is to put these sticky things with the cable ties running through them where the conduits are so that they just hold in place and don't rattle around. So I've just got to do a few of them now.
The reason for the string is because we've got to run on the wire in this conduit, but I'm not sure of the exact lengths and everything, so I'm just going to put a drawstring in through now. So what we're going to do is we're going to untape this and just leave the string dangling. So once I work out the exact everything, so we just leave the drawstring in. So I'll cut the string here somewhere. I'm just soldering this 4mm cable to the max air fan. So I've got to cut the wires to length, wrap them up. I'm just warming up the soldering iron. On the low, very low voltage stuff, I've got some pre-soldered connectors, which on all the LED lights I'm going to use those. They're pre-soldered connectors, and the only reason I'm not using it right now is, guess where they are? Where? They're not here. But anyway, soldered joints are just as good. They're actually better. On anything that draws a bit more current, I'd rather use the solder. You put the soldering iron onto the wire and then you preheat it. And then try and get the solder to get sucked through the wire. See how it's sucking it in now? Yeah, that's it. That's a good joint. A lot of people say once you use, what do they call them? Shrink. Just telling your dad's old school mechanic. That's all they had in their day. That one's done.
Alright, so we've got some wires run, as you can see. We've had to label all of them, otherwise we'd get confused. So just running all the wires before we can finish the shiplapping. And there's also a wire in the shower for the exhaust fan, which we'll have a light on as well. So we went for these LEDs. They're actually meant for caravans and boats. We just got them from Amazon and they're a warm white, 12 volt. And we basically just need to cut a 60mm hole in the ceiling and then use the clips to bend them in. And we'll do that now.
Bend that round like that. Okay.
Wow.
If you want to get them out, you got to. Yep. Okay.
Well, at least we know it fits. So we have just been shoving insulation, except not above the shower, otherwise it would probably get moldy, with that earth wall insulation that we used on the sides of the bus. So basically we've just been trying to measure it and then cut it to size and just shove it in and just put some masking tape up so that it doesn't fall out. Now we can continue on with the shiplapping and then we'll just continue to shove it in as we're going along. So we've added on these two pieces from yesterday and we're just starting to get to the curved area, but we've got to leave this bit for a minute just until we work out where the awning support is going to go. So I'm just going to sand back all the putty that I've put over the nails and screws, and then I can probably start painting. Now I'm just going to go in and paint between all the lines and then just get a roller and then just give it all 2 coats of paint of the same white paint that we used on the kitchen and the shower. We're just now drilling the hole for the exhaust fan that will go in the shower. Dad is just going to drill the hole saw.
This vent comes out underneath the front solar panel. So we basically had to trim 10mm off the bit that protrudes through the roof and 10mm off the cap. So now it'll all sit underneath the solar panel and still the exhaust fan will still function.
Work out, Dad.
Sorry? Yeah. It's just that this one wants a spring and I just want to hold it till we get it all screwed up.
We've just put 2 more up on this side. So for this last piece in here, this last piece here, we cut down the shiplapping, so that's the original size. As you can see, we've cut it down a little bit. So we cut it down, but we also actually routed it also added the back here so that it'll actually sit on top. It'll click in here like the usual shiplap and it will sit on top. We just need to kind of sand this down a little bit. So we've just put this one up and we have puttied where we've put the screws and sanded that back. And we've also just give a light sand to the rest of the boards and we're going to paint them. Give it all a coat. Give the ones that we haven't painted a second coat and just finish off the roof basically so that we can put all the lights up and the frame for this MaxxAir fan. We're now just going to cut the hole for the vent. We've got a hole saw from the top where we cut the hole initially and now we're just going to cut through this shiplapping so that we can put it in place. So that is the first coat for these outside pieces. We're just going to let them dry, do a second coat. Once that's dry, we're just going to give a final coat over all of them. Yeah, we're really happy with how it's shaping up. So we're just putting up this MaxxAir fan. I don't know what it's called. What is it, the cover? We cut it down a bit actually so that it fits in. Alright, and that is in, as you can see. So we're just putting these
Allen-headed cap screws.
Allen-headed cap screws. We mentioned this in a previous video. The other ones just protruded too much. So before we close it off with shiplapping, we just need to go ahead and put all these in. We've just put a bit of Loctite on the thread. And we're just going to start it off with the fingers. And then just get an Allen key, the size of it. And do it up. Okay, so we are putting up this final shiplapping on this side, the passenger side. So they are the wires on this side, and now that we've done the awning, we're good to go and put up this final shiplapping. And we are still waiting on the reverse cam to come before we can seal up this side, and Dad is sorting through just a few more wires to bring them down. So we're just waiting before we finish this side. We're gonna get this shiplapping up now. So we actually decided to cut this long length into 3 sections. It just makes it a little bit easier to push and click into the shiplapping above it. Basically we cut it to where the overhead shelving is going to go, so it's not as noticeable. So we managed to click it in here, but as you can see, as it gets further to the back, there's more of a gap, and we found that on this one as well. I don't know if you can notice, but we just painted it in. So yeah, once we give it a paint, hopefully it should blend in a bit better. But yeah, just because of the angles, and this is why I imagine most people just kind of go to like end at the flat part and then put all overhead shelving to not have to deal with this. But we've decided to shiplap the whole way down, so we're just gonna have to deal with that. We tried everything, we just could not click it in unless we literally cut it into this short lengths and did it that way, but that's not gonna happen. So on to the next piece. So that is the second one in, which is going to be like basically the length of the shelf. Just, it's going to go a little bit over, so you won't be able to see that, hopefully. It was a little bit, went in a little bit more than the first one, so just one more to go. And we also obviously pulled the, drilled a hole to pull the wires through. All right, that is the last section in for this side. So as you can see, I think once you paint it, it's not that bad. Gap. So we're just gonna do 2 coats, and then that shiplapping will be done, and we can put the shelf on. We've cut the shiplapping in half basically. It just makes it a little bit easier to slot in. So we're going to do the same this side. We're going to cut it to about just before the end of the shelf, so that we can kind of disguise it with a plant on the shelf or something, so that you won't actually, hopefully, won't see the lines. So we're going to do this shiplapping first, and we're going to actually leave this half because we still haven't received our reverse cam, and we'll need to feed through the conduit here and also behind the shiplapping. But to progress with things, we're just going to do this shiplapping, put the kitchen cabinet back in on this side, and then once the reverse cam comes, we can finish off this wiring and the conduit and do that shiplapping as well. So we have put this shiplapping up, but we had to, it's very messy, but we had to cut it, basically a really small piece. It just wouldn't jam in here with a long piece, and for some reason these gaps are showing, so we're just going to putty them and paint it. And that is the second piece in. We managed to get it in just one piece. We just put the wire through the hole and then just really slowly slid it along. And although it doesn't slot in perfectly, it's 100% better than that one. Once I do a second coat of that, it's pretty much done. We just have to wait for the reverse cam before we can put this shiplapping up. And we are also putting shiplapping at the front, basically above the driver and the passenger seat. And we're putting it in line. We're basically making it the same lines, so it'll all look nice and uniform, but we will put them up and talk about that in another video. So that's pretty much it for the shiplapping, besides that last area which we need opened so that we can work out the reverse cam wiring from the back to the front of the bus. And we also need to clean up where the brackets are going for the shelves, but that will be in the next video. We're probably also going to sand back in a few places where it looks a little dodgy. We're going to sand them and just repaint them again. But yeah, that's pretty much done. I understand now why people only do it up to here and then they just put like a shelf here. It would just saved us so much time and effort. But I actually really like the finished look of it going all the way down. But yeah, thank you so much for watching and see you in the next video.